Christmas to one and all. It is now time for another Christmas movie for people who don't like Christmas movies. Now, after the last one, which is Black Christmas, I hope you've watched it. You took a chance to watch it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. We're staying nasty for this. I promise you the next one we won't be, but we're staying nasty for this one. But in a fun way. So Black Christmas was all too real. It was, I mean, far-fetched but plausible. This isn't. This is so beyond the realms of reality, it's untrue. But we are focused on the film Krampus, which is this one. This is Krampus from 2015, and it's written and directed by Michael Dougherty. Now, Michael Dougherty also wrote Trick or Treat, which was the Halloween movie, which features my little mate Sam here, who frequenters the channel will be familiar with because he's what we made the Halloween costume for. Now, I was kind of hoping when I heard this was announced the same guy was doing it, he was going to knock it out the park and do the quintessential Christmas movie. He didn't. I mean, this is a good movie, it is. It's fun, it's definitely something different, and it is a nice tonic to all of the schmooze that's going around this time of year. So what is Krampus? Well, Krampus is based on Bavarian folklore. It's not overly well known in this country, but certainly throughout a lot of Germany, definitely, and a lot of Eastern European countries are more than familiar with Krampus or a version of it. And a lot of cultures have this kind of, this deity, this version of, not necessarily Krampus, but an anti-Santa, if you will. So Krampus, as the tradition goes, would leave birches for the parents of naughty children, beaten with. And kids were basically scared into submission. I mean, it's sadistic. I mean, it just is to tell a kid, you know, if you don't behave, Krampus is going to come and get you. That's not entirely what this one's about. This one is more about having Christmas spirit, and that's typically not what Krampus is. But this film focuses on that, about kind of keeping your spirit and keeping your, you know, your kind of happiness and your joy and your love of family at Christmas, or Krampus will come and get you. And we focus on a fairly toxic family. Now, I say that, having seen the family in this movie, I mean, the main character would be a little boy called Max, who still kept the faith, still writes to Santa, and he still remembers Christmas when it was good. He's got his parents that are kind of jaded, tired, and then they're entertaining the in-laws, the brother-in-law, who's kind of an asshole. His kids are kind of vile. And then none of them really like each other. Now, why I like this movie is because I've lived that. So I have spent a lot of Christmases with a lot of different families. I won't go into detail why. But from a very early age, I've spent Christmases with multiple families. I've spent it with a lot of different people. And then as I got older, I spent it with different girlfriends' families and things like that. So I've seen a lot of other people's versions of Christmas. And the one thing that has remained a constant in all of them, is none of them got along. All right. So every single one of these families that I spent it with, it might just be that one guy. It might be that one asshole uncle no one likes, or it might be two cousins that would always fight at Christmas, or whatever it was. There was always rift in the family, always. And as I've said, I mean, maybe 15, 16, 17 families, they all have the same thing. I've yet to see one that got along. And that's kind of true. It doesn't make you bad people. It makes you human. But we're supposed to put all that to aside for one day and all get along. But why do we do that to ourselves? I don't know. Me and my wife don't. Based kind of on my experiences. We've got an embargo at Christmas. We have Christmas in our home. That's it. We're not going to the in-laws. That's it. We're not going anywhere. Right? So Christmas here. That's it. If somebody wants to come, they can come. Will we invite them? No. It really is that simple. If somebody was to say, we'd like to spend Christmas with you, then come on. But will we ever extend that invite to, hey, come spend? No. Because I enjoy spending it with my family. And I can understand why a year's worth of stuff is going to boil over. And that's what this movie's about. So a year's worth of stuff boils over. And the German grandmother in this movie mentions her experience of Krampus. Shortly after World War II, the whole town that she lived in kind of lost his spirit. And they were all horrible to each other. And Krampus came and dragged them all to hell. And And you can see where this is going. So Max keeps his faith. He writes his letter to Santa, and the fairly horrible twins tear his letter up, and off it goes. And then that night, here comes Krampus. But Krampus remains kind of like this menace in the background. You don't really see him for a long time. Instead, Krampus has got Santa has elves. Krampus has got his own version of helpers, which are just ridiculous. As I said, this is not a movie. This is not a horror movie to scare you. It's not. There are jump scares in it, but this is a comedy. That's ultimately what this is. It's just a very dark comedy, but it is a comedy. So the little monstrous things that are sent to scout ahead for him and start dragging the family out of the house and to hell, because that's what they're doing, range from, there's a Jack in a Box that's particularly horrible. There's a gingerbread man. Here's some pictures of some of Krampus's aides. So the CGI is really good in this. The set design's really good. The character design's really good as well. Even though they're ridiculous, they're done well. And they remind me of, there were some horror movies that came out in the 80s and the 90s. There was a whole series of them called Puppet Master, which, if you've ever seen one, it was about a guy that made these puppets. And they remind me very much of Puppet Master, all these things. And a little bit of Killer Clowns from Outer Space thrown in there as well. But they're goofy, they're hokey. But creepy as sin. I mean, they're just horrible things. But it's done so well. It's done so well, you can't help but like it. And it is, as I said, it's a tonic to everything else that you get. So these things do run through the house and start picking off the family one by one. And the family decide to, kind of fight back against it before Krampus makes his entrance. And when Krampus does arrive, Krampus is huge. I mean, it's a giant creature. Now, I don't think it's completely CGI. I believe there's physical effects used, and I always love physical effects. I still swear blind, physical effects are better than CGI. They just are. CGI, CGI, and a physical effect, it's a physical effect, but it's there. Whereas CGI, something that's been imposed onto the film afterwards. The ultimate, I think, is if you can merge the two. If you can use CGI to enhance a physical effect, that's the best. That looks really good. George Romero did that in Land of the Dead. So he wanted to use as many physical effects as he could, but then use the CGI to enhance the physical effects, and it gives it a fantastic look. And I believe that's what they've done here. Because Krampus is definitely animatronic in some places, definitely, as are some of the sort of demonic toys that he's unleashed on them. And it's a great looking thing. Kind of looks like Santa, but don't look like Santa, if that makes sense. So Krampus makes his very grand entrance. And it's really going to go down. So the family sort of mount their offensive and go after them, and it's a hell of a movie. It's just a lot of fun. I mean, this is the thing. Is it going to win Oscars? No. Are you going to watch it as the greatest film I've ever seen? No, you're not. But in the fairly shallow market of Christmas movies, this should just be in your library. This should just be in your library. If you want something, again, if like me, you can't. I can't watch Santa Claus the movie. I think that movie is bloody terrible. I think even when I was a kid, I remember that being released in cinemas when I was little. It was bad then. It's worse now. It just is. So it's not a good movie. I would rather watch this any day of the week. And it's fun. It's a fun movie. That's the best way I can describe this. If you go into this expecting something hard hitting or something scary, or you're not going to enjoy it. You're not. If you're kind of like, I just want something a little goofy, I want something a bit stupid, it's this, and it's great. And it has got a very good ending, which again is lacking in horror movies. It's definitely lacking in Christmas movies. In Christmas movies, it's a long shot of a family all sat around, all smiling and happy, and that's typically how any Christmas movie ends. Then maybe Santa flies across the sky. That's what you see. This one does something similar, but there's a very good piece of acting from everyone involved, where they all say something without saying something. They all portray it by the looks on their faces and the way they look at each other. And again, the best way I can liken this to this, I mean, this is a stretch, but if you know your movies, you know your movies. If you've ever seen the movie The Graduate, There's a scene at the very end of The Graduate where the wedding is broken up and the two main characters run out and they sit on the bus. Now, most people think that's how the movie ends. It doesn't. The movie keeps going. It goes for about another 2 minutes where they're on the bus, when the reality of what they've just done kicks in. And you can see that it isn't a happy ending to The Graduate at all. Even though she's ran away and she's gone with the man she loves, you see them both sit on the bus and you see them both think about, okay, what have we just done? Do I actually want to be with this person? Have we just made a massive mistake? And they don't say a word, but you see it all in their faces, and that is what happens in Krampus. So there's a scene in Krampus where a revelation happens. They all just kind of look, and it's done very well. And it's a hell of a movie. I enjoyed it. It didn't do great at the box office, which is going to be a running theme with these, because when you are competing with whatever Christmas movie is released at the box office that year, and people do typically want something feel good, these movies are never going to do well at the box office. There is always going to be people go, this is against the spirit of Christmas. And they're going to hate it. So it didn't do great. I think I know it had a budget of 15 million. I think it took around about 66 million, which, I mean, it's still 4 times what it cost to make, but it didn't do what they wanted it to do. And they never will. I mean, this year, Violent Night is being released, and I can't wait. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to try and sneak the kid into it on Christmas Eve. If we can get Oscar into it, we're totally going. Which has got David Harbour from Stranger Things playing Santa Claus. It's basically Die Hard with Santa. And it looks fantastic. But do I think it's going to do well at the box office? No. I think critics are going to hate it. I don't care how good it is. Critics are going to hate it because it's not the usual saccharine they churn out at Christmas. Now, I know you're saying things like Die Hard's a Christmas movie, and Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Die Hard wasn't released at Christmas. Die Hard was released in summer, which makes it weird. But that's probably why it did well. If it had been released as a Christmas movie at Christmas, probably wouldn't have done well, because critics absolutely have the daggers out for anything that tries to be different at Christmas. But if you've not seen Krampus yet, Krampus is available, I believe. In the UK, it's available on Amazon Prime. It typically does the rounds on television at this time of the year as well. So if you don't have Prime, you should be able to get a TV screening of this, a terrestrial screening of it. I believe in America there are other options to see this, but search it out. It's well worth your time. And again, if you are a person like me who loves Christmas but doesn't particularly like Christmas movies, this is one for you, and I can't recommend it enough. That's all for this one. If you haven't yet, please remember to like. Please remember to subscribe. It helps us massively. And we will be back next week with another one, which I promise you, well, I can't promise you that. It's not a horror movie, but it's certainly not a nice movie. It's a fun movie. It's a good action-packed movie. You'll enjoy it. And it's one you've probably never heard of. But we will catch you then. Merry Christmas. Watch Krampus. And let us know in the comments what you think. Catch you next time.